For more than 3 decades, the shadow of tragedy has lingered over the legacy of Brandon Lee, a name synonymous with untapped potential, raw charisma, and a life extinguished in the prime of its ascent. Born into the rarefied air of Hollywood royalty as the son of martial arts legend Bruce Lee, Brandon was more than just an heir to a throne. He was a force unto himself, a brooding artist whose intensity on screen promised to redefine action cinema. His death on March 31, 1993, at the age of 28 during the filming of The Crow, wasn't merely a heartbreaking accident, it became a cultural scar, a reminder of how fragile fame can be when it dances too close to danger. A prop gun, loaded with a forgotten fragment of a real bullet, turned a scripted scene into a fatal one, propelling a dummy round into his abdomen with lethal force. The world watched in horror as the young star, on the cusp of superstardom, slipped away in a Wilmington hospital, leaving behind a fiancé, a grieving family, and a film that would immortalize him as the vengeful Eric Draven. Yet in the quiet hills of Seattle's Lakeview Cemetery, where Brandon rests eternally beside his father, the story never truly ended. Thousands flock there annually, drawn by the magnetic pull of the Lees' shared gravesite, a modest yet poignant marker etched with words of love and loss. Bruce, interred in 1973 after his own mysterious cerebral edema claimed him at 32, and Brandon, united in death as in life, their plots a testament to a bond forged in discipline, dreams, and destiny. Fans leave flowers, incense, notes of admiration, and even small talismans, turning the site into a living shrine. But with reverence comes wear. Footsteps erode the earth, hands trace inscriptions until stone weathers. It was this very devotion that, in the spring of 2025, 32 years after Brandon's passing, necessitated an unprecedented act. A routine maintenance request from cemetery officials revealed a hairline crack in Brandon's headstone, the ground beneath subtly unsettled, prompting a delicate exhumation for repairs. What unfolded wasn't just a logistical procedure, it was a portal to the past, unearthing mementos, sealed envelopes, and one sealed missive that bore a symbol straight from the heart of the Lee family lore: intertwined dragons. This discovery, a letter penned in Brandon's own hand, discovered amid the relics of his burial, has reignited debates that have simmered since that fateful night on set. Was it a prescient farewell? A philosophical coda from a man who sensed his time was short? Or something more ominous? A clue to the curse of the dragon that has haunted the Lee lineage, fueling conspiracy theories from Hollywood sabotage to supernatural fate. As Linda Lee Cadwell, Brandon's mother and steward of the family's legacy, grappled with the contents, the world was reminded that some stories refuse to stay buried. In this retelling, we'll journey through Brandon's whirlwind life, from a childhood eclipsed by genius to a career that burned bright and brief, culminating in that graveside revelation. We'll explore the accidents, lingering questions, the eerie parallels to Bruce's end, and the profound words that now echo across time: be water. This is not just a biography, it's an excavation of grief, genius, and the unbreakable thread between father and son. Prepare to be drawn into a narrative as fluid and fierce as Jeet Kune Do itself, where every punch lands with emotional weight and every shadow hides a deeper truth. The weight of legacy, Brandon's birth into a legend's shadow. To understand Brandon Lee, one must first confront the colossus that was Bruce Lee, a man who didn't just perform martial arts, he revolutionized it, infusing philosophy, athleticism, and unapologetic swagger into a discipline once dismissed as exotic curiosity in the West. Bruce, born Lee Jun Fan in 1940 amid the chaos of San Francisco's Chinatown, was a whirlwind, child actor in Hong Kong films, street fighter in Seattle's underbelly, and eventually the philosopher-fighter who penned treatises like Tao of Jeet Kune Do. His films The Big Boss, 1971, Fist of Fury, 1972, Way of the Dragon, 1972, and the posthumous Enter the Dragon, 1973, shattered racial barriers, turning an Asian American into a global icon. But Bruce's life was a pressure cooker of ambition and excess, ending abruptly in a Hong Kong apartment, his brain swollen from an allergic reaction to a Quegesic, a painkiller. At 32, he left behind a widow, Linda, and 2 children, daughter Shannon, then 4, and Brandon, just 8. Brandon Bruce Lee entered the world on February 1, 1965 in Oakland, California, not under spotlights but in the quiet hum of a hospital room, the first cries of a boy who would inherit both fortune and curse. His mother, Linda Emery, a Seattle native of German and English descent, had met Bruce at the University of Washington, where the young martial artist taught gung fu to pay tuition. Their union was a bridge across cultures. Bruce, the Hong Kong-born firebrand, and Linda, the all-American student whose poise grounded his intensity. They married in 1964, settling briefly in Oakland before Bruce's career pulled them to Hong Kong in 1971, seeking opportunities denied him in a Hollywood rife with yellowface and typecasting. Young Brandon's early years were a tapestry of privilege laced with portent. In Hong Kong, he'd toddled on film sets, a prop baby in The Big Boss, oblivious to the cameras capturing his father's lethal grace. Bruce doted on him, instilling discipline from the cradle. "Be like water making its way through cracks," he'd say, demonstrating fluidity in strikes that could shatter boards. By age 5, Brandon was a prodigy, splintering an inch-thick plank with a kick, a feat that drew gasps from dojo peers and whispers of dynasty. But beneath the feats lay fractures. Bruce's fame isolated the family. Paparazzi stalked their Kowloon home, and the pressure to mold Brandon into a mini-dragon mounted. "He was my little shadow," Linda later recalled in interviews, her voice catching. Bruce saw himself in Brandon's eyes, fierce, curious, unbreakable. The 1973 death shattered that idyll. Bruce collapsed during a meeting with Game of Death producer Raymond Chow, dead before doctors could intervene. The official verdict? Cerebral edema, possibly from hypersensitivity to aspirin in a Quegesic. But rumors swirled, poisoning by triads jealous of his fame, a curse from disturbed ancestral graves, or even assassination by rivals fearing his influence on Asian pride. For 8-year-old Brandon, the loss was cataclysmic. He and Shannon were hoisted to peer into his father's open casket, a moment frozen in family photos, wide-eyed, bewildered, clutching Linda's skirt. The funeral in Seattle drew 500 mourners, but the real burial was private. Bruce's ashes in a bronze urn at Lakeview, overlooking the city he once called home. Repatriated to the U.S., the Lees rebuilt in relative anonymity. Linda, then 28, became the family's anchor, channeling Bruce's teachings into books like Bruce Lee, The Man Only I Knew, 1975. She enrolled Brandon in Seattle public schools, but the shadow loomed. Classmates taunted him as Kung Fu Kid. Teachers expected miracles. "I didn't want to be Bruce Lee Jr., Brandon confided years later in a rare interview. "I wanted to be Brandon, the soccer player, the actor, the guy who could just breathe." He excelled in athletics, captaining his high school soccer team, but rebellion brewed. Expelled at 16 for skipping classes and minor infractions, he embodied the rage of a boy adrift, echoing Bruce's own youthful scrapes in Seattle's gangs. It was during this tumult that martial arts reclaimed him, not as obligation, but salvation. Under Ted Wong and later Danny Nisanto, Bruce's top students, Brandon rediscovered Jeet Kune Do, the hybrid style his father invented, using no way as way, having no limitation as limitation. Sparring sessions became therapy, channeling grief into precision. Dad's death left a hole, but filling it with his art, that made me whole. By 18, he'd earned his GED and set sights on New York, craving independence from Seattle's ghosts. Enrolling at the Lee Strasberg Theater and Film Institute in 1983, Brandon traded kicks for monologues, honing a craft that revealed his depth. A brooding intensity, eyes that pierced like daggers, a voice graveled with unspoken pain.
Forging his own path, from reluctant heir to rising star. Brandon's pivot to acting was no whim. It was rebellion wrapped in reverence. At Strasberg, he shed the son of label, dissecting Stanislavski and Meisner alongside future stars like Robin Williams, whom he befriended during guest spots. I admired my father, but I didn't want to mimic him, Brandon told Fangoria in 1992. He was lightning. I'm more like thunder, slow building, then boom. His mixed heritage, half Chinese, half Caucasian, mirrored Bruce's, but Brandon leaned into it differently, seeking roles that explored identity's edges rather than exotic tropes. Back in Los Angeles by 1985, Brandon hustled humbly, script reader for 20th Century Fox, waiter gigs, audition marathons. Fate intervened via casting director Lynn Stalmaster, who saw in him the ghost of untried potential. Offered a role in Kung Fu the Movie, 1986, a TV pilot extension of the series originally tailored for Bruce, Brandon balked. It felt like stepping into Dad's shoes, he admitted. The project evoked irony. David Carradine's Kane, the role Bruce lost to network racism, now fathered by Brandon's character, Kwai Chong Kane's secret son. Coached by Jeff Imada, his stunt coordinator turned mentor, Brandon relented. Filming in Vancouver, he infused the part with nuance, vulnerable yet volcanic, proving his chops beyond chops. The debut aired October 1, 1986 to solid ratings, catapulting Brandon into Hong Kong's orbit. There, producer Dixon Poon cast him in Legacy of Rage, 1986, a gritty crime thriller where Brandon played a white-collar everyman turned Avenger. Shot amid Kowloon's neon haze, it grossed HK 10 million, blending Bruce's balletic fury with Brandon's street-smart snarl. Critics noted the evolution. Less philosophy, more pulse, wrote Variety. Emboldened, Brandon headlined Laser Mission, 1990, a Namibia-filmed espionage romp opposite Ernest Borgnine. Dismissed as B-grade schlock, quote, a .45 caliber snooze, per the New York Times, it cultified on VHS, its pyrotechnics showcasing Brandon's wire-fu prowess. Yet Stardom's siren song was tempered by doubt. Between gigs, Brandon trained obsessively with Inosanto, filming workouts on VHS to refine screen combat, mirroring Bruce's self-taped innovations. He dabbled in screenwriting, penning a spec script about a haunted martial artist, and dated actress Minka Gertler before meeting soulmate Eliza Hutton in 1990. Eliza, a talent agent, grounded him. She saw the man, not the myth, Shannon Lee later shared. Their engagement in 1992 marked a personal zenith, even as professional gears ground. The turning point, Rapid Fire, 1992. Director Dwight H. Little sought a lead for Nick Tracer, a college kid thrust into triad intrigue. Brandon, 27, and chiseled from daily regimens, nailed it. His fight with power sled Nick Gage became iconic, a blur of elbows and earnest fury. Grossing $8 million domestically, it whispered, next big thing. Then came The Crow, James O'Barr's gothic comic of resurrection and revenge. Director Alex Proyas cast Brandon as Eric Draven, a murdered musician reborn to avenge his fiancée, played by Eliza in a meta-twist. It was kismet, Proyas said. Brandon was Eric, wounded, wrathful, poetic. Production began March 3, 1993 in Wilmington, North Carolina. Brandon immersed, black dye in his hair, crow tattoos inked for authenticity, nightly readings of Poe. The script pulsed with fatalism. Draven shot in a robbery, mirroring Brandon's impending doom. As cameras rolled, magic sparked. Test audiences raved, but on March 31, during a midnight reshot, actor Michael Mace fired a .44 Magnum prop at Brandon, 15 feet away. The barrel held a forgotten primer tip from a dummy round, propelled by blank powder, like a .38 slug. Brandon staggered, ad-libbing collapse, before whispering, "I've been hit." Rushed to New Hanover Regional Medical Center, he endured 6 hours of surgery, liver lacerated, spleen ruptured, but succumbed at 1:04 p.m. The outpouring was seismic. Hollywood halted. Fans mobbed studios. No charges filed. Negligence, not malice. But lawsuits followed. Linda and Eliza sued producers for $100 million, settling out of court. Stunt coordinator Chad Stahelski, future John Wick auteur, and effects house DreamQuest finished the film with doubles and CGI, premiering May 1994 to $50 million box office and cult eternity. Dedicated for Brandon and Eliza, it closes with his voice, "It can't rain all the time." But rain it did, for a family forever altered. Whispers of the Curse. Conspiracy, coincidence, or cosmic irony? Brandon's death didn't just grieve, it galvanized myth. Parallels to Bruce screamed design. Both felled at zeniths, Bruce by brain swelling, Brandon by bullet fragment, internal assaults from trusted sources, medication, prop crew. Ages, 32 and 28, both pre-breakthrough. Enter the Dragon, the Crow. Locations, Hong Kong and Wilmington, foreign soils for American dreams. Even astrological alignments, Bruce under a full moon, Brandon on the vernal equinox eve. The curse of the dragon crystallized. Coined post-Bruce, it traced to ancestral slights. Bruce's grandfather, Lee Hoi-chun, an actor whose grave desecration allegedly invoked spirits. Or triad vendettas. Bruce's films mocked gangsters. Brandon's rapid-fire indicted them anew. Forums buzzed. Was the prop sabotage by jealous white actors? Illuminati symbolism in the Crow's pyramid motifs? Linda dismissed it in the Bruce Lee story 1993, quote, "Tragedy, not hex." Shannon in the Crow Girl podcast 2021 called it lazy mysticism, attributing losses to human error. Bruce's pill allergy, Brandon's set shortcuts. Yet doubts persist. Eyewitnesses noted the gun's prior misfires. Crew shortcuts cut corners. A 1993 Entertainment Weekly probe revealed lax safety. Blanks hand-loaded sans inspection. Conspiracy pods like Tinfoil Hat 2022 speculate Hollywood cabals, fearing another Lee eclipsing stars. Brandon's own words fuel it. Friends recalled offhand quips, "I'll go young, like Dad, maybe younger." Premonitions or fatalistic humor from a man shadowed. Enter the grave opening, a plot twist no scriptwriter could dream. The Exhumation, a mother's reluctant vigil. Spring 2025 dawned crisp in Seattle, cherry blossoms dusting Lakeview's 40 acres. The cemetery, founded 1872 as Masonic grounds, cradles pioneers like Arthur Denny alongside icons, its hilltop perch framing Puget Sound vistas. Bruce and Brandon's site, perennially adorned, flowers piled headstone high on anniversaries, bore strain. 10,000-plus annual pilgrims trample sod, trace etchings, for Brandon and Eliza, ever joined in true love's beauty. A 2024 grounds audit revealed fissures. Brandon's marker cracked, soil subsidence hinting intrusion. Vandal? Animal? Microquake? Officials approached Linda, now 80, via the Bruce Lee Foundation. Maintenance only, assured manager George Nemeth Jr. Preserve for posterity. Linda, who'd buried husband and son within 20 years, recoiled. Disturbing his peace? She queried in a foundation statement. Yet pragmatism prevailed. Deny access, risk closure to fans. Bruce and Brandon belonged to the world. Their rest must endure. Preparations were reverent theater. A climate-controlled tent enveloped the plot. HEPA filters, LED soft glow to thwart UV decay. Security, 24/7 patrols, NDAs for 12-person team, forensic archaeologists, conservators. Linda supplied archives, burial manifests, memento inventories. Word leaked via local blogs. By dawn March 31, Anniversary Eve, a discreet crowd gathered, fans with candles, reporters veiled as mourners. At 9 a.m., April 2, cranes lifted the granite slab. The vault, airtight since 1993, exhaled stale incense, joss sticks from Asian rites. Soil, compacted, vermin-free. Crack source? A pilgrim's boot heel imprint, 2023 dated by forensics. No desecration, just devotion's toll. New stone prepped, reinforced marble, same inscription. Linda observed from afar, then closer, drawn by relics. A crow script page, singed edges from set fire. Polaroids of Eliza laughing. A soccer ball deflated by time. Brandon's teen escape. Then the letters, 27 envelopes, wax sealed from A-listers, Borgnine's condolences, to intimates, Imada's vows to carry the torch. Tones evolved, early raw sobs, why you, brother? Later, resolve, your fight lives in us. One diverged, crimson wax, embossed dragons entwined, Bruce's emblem, little dragon to fans, Brandon's childhood doodle. Linda froze, only family knew its intimacy. Open it, she whispered. The dragon's final scroll, words from beyond. The envelope yielded gingerly, archivists gloved, cameras off. Inside, Brandon's scrawl, dated March 28, 1993. Days pre-fatality. The journey we began together never ends. The limitations you perceive are illusions of the mind. Be water. Flow through obstacles. Adapt to challenges. And find strength in your formlessness. But above all this, remember this. Your true path emerges not from following my way, but from discovering your own. Empty your cup to fill it with your wisdom. Signed, your son, in eternal flow, B. Gasps rippled. Linda wept. Brandon's hand, alive on paper, channeling Bruce's mantra, empty your mind, be formless, shapeless like water. But why here? Why hidden? Friends later confirmed Brandon penned it post-rehearsal, sensing something off on set, misfired blanks foreshadowing, entrusted to Stahelski. Bury it with me, for Mom when she's ready. Not prophecy, but philosophy, a parting gift, urging release from shadow. Theories cascaded. Curse confirmation? Brandon's acceptance of fated brevity? Dragon blood dooming males, per lore, Branduncle drowned 1912? Or sabotage clue? No leads, but renewed probes. 2025 Vanity Fair revisit unearthed set logs, unlogged ammo swaps. Linda shared publicly via Foundation Gala. No curse, only lessons. He freed us to be water. Impact. The Crow re-releases spiked. Dragon merch surged. Shannon's Be Water docuseries, updated 2026, weaves the letter, humanizing the myth. Legacy's eternal flow. Reflections on a life unfinished. Brandon's 28 years reshaped cinema. The Crow's $150 million plus franchise, sequels and comics, owes his soulful rage. He normalized mixed heritage heroes, paving for Crazy Rich Asians and Shang-Chi. Foundation-wise, Bruce Lee scholarships fund BIPOC artists, and annual Seattle festivals honor both. Yet grief endures. Linda, at 80, tends the site, fresh blooms, dragon etchings. He knew his path, short but supernova. Fans debate, premonition or poetry, curse or coincidence. The letter, archived yet excerpted, invites, what limits do you shatter? In Seattle's mist, two dragons sleep, father guiding son, son eclipsing gently. Their story, not ended, but flowing onward. What do you see in those words? Share below. Until next echo.